Alrighty, so Monster Mama 1, 2, 3, 4, and more. Reading aloud Alice in Wonderland, or Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. We're dating it again. The digital copy we have here is from, um, oh my goodness, I forgot how to do it again. What'd I do? Woo. Let me Control Z that, 'cause that's not what I wanted to do. Text size. Um, okay, well, let's just do this. If we refresh, will it do it? Nope. Control Z. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. There we go. Make it a little bit bigger for everybody, including me. Sorry. All right. So we've read Down the Rabbit Hole, where she follows the rabbit. We've read Into the Pool of Tears, where she cries a big pool of tears when she gets big, and then she swims in it when she gets little. The Caucus Race, and The Long Tail, where they try and dry off by running and doing a caucus race, which is a pun. Rabbit sends in a little bill to get the gloves, and Alice gets the gloves and the fan. Advice from a caterpillar, as advertised. Pig and Pepper, where she finds a pig and there's lots of pepper. The Mad Tea Party, where it's always tea time. The Queen's Croquet Ground, where we were introduced to the croquet. And now we're ready for the Mock Turtle story. Mock Turtle. The Mock Turtle is not actually a turtle, even though I drew a turtle. But it's got turtle in its name. Might as well draw us a turtle. Might as well draw us a turtle. Do 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 do. Draw a turtle. Draw a turtle. Draw a turtle. Turtle, turtle. Alice, Alice. So, Alice in Wonderland was, here's Pig and Pepper, um, based off of a little Alice that Lewis Carroll actually knew. So, it's there. Do, 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 do. Mad Tea Party. I like that one actually quite a bit. I think there's a lot of good creative things with it. The tea party, have a tea party today. 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 And if you don't know what croquet is, you use a wooden mallet, traditionally, to hit wooden balls through little arches. Um, it's actually kind of cute. Oh, here we go. I scrolled too far. The Mock Turtle's story. You can't think how glad I am to see you again, you dear old thing, said the Duchess, as she tucked her arm affectionately into Alice's and they walked off together. Alice was very glad to find her in such a pleasant temper, and thought to herself that perhaps it was only the pepper that had made her so savage when they met in the kitchen. When I'm Duchess, she said to herself, not in a very hopeful tone, I won't have any pepper in my kitchen at all. Soup does very well without. Maybe it's always the pepper that makes people hot-tempered. She went on very much pleased at having found out a new kind of rule, and vinegar that makes them sour, and chamomile that makes them bitter, and barley sugar and such things that make children sweet-tempered. I only wish people knew that. Well, they wouldn't be so stingy about it, you know. As a child, she liked sweets. She had quite forgotten the Duchess by this time, and was a little startled when she heard her voice close to her ear. "You're thinking about something, my dear, and that makes you forget to talk. I can't tell you just now what the moral of that is, but I shall remember it in a bit." "Perhaps it hasn't one?" Alice ventured to remark. "Tut, tut, child," said the Duchess. "Everything's got a moral, if only you can find it." And she squeezed herself up closer to Alice's side as she spoke. Alice did not much like keeping so close to her. First, because the Duchess was very ugly, and secondly, because she was exactly the right height to rest her chin upon Alice's shoulder, and it was an uncomfortably sharp chin. Ouch! However, she did not like to be rude, so she bore it as well as she could. "The game's going on rather better now," she said, by way of keeping up the conversation a little. "'Tis so," said the Duchess, "and the moral of that is, oh, 'tis love that makes the world go round." "Somebody said," Alice whispered, "that it's done by everybody minding their own business." "Ah, well, it means much the same thing," said the Duchess, digging her sharp little chin into Alice's shoulder as she added, "and the moral of that is, take care of the scents, and the sounds will take care of themselves." "How fond she is of finding morals in things," Alice said to herself. "I dare say you're wondering why I don't put my arm around your waist," the Duchess said after a pause. "The reason is that I'm doubtful around the temper of your flamingo. Shall I try an experiment?" "He might bite," Alice cautiously replied, not feeling at all anxious to have the experiment tried. I mean, she doesn't want it to happen. "Very true," said the Duchess. "Flamingos and mustard both bite. And the moral of that is, birds of a feather flock together." "Only mustard isn't a bird," Alice remarked. "Right, as usual," said the Duchess. "What a clear way you have of putting things." "It's a mineral, I think," said Alice. "Of course it is," said the Duchess, who seemed ready to agree to everything that Alice said. "There's a large mustard mine near here. Then the moral of that is, the more there is of mine, the less there is of yours." "Oh, I know!" exclaimed Alice, who had not attended to this last remark. "It's a vegetable. It doesn't look like one, but it is." "I quite agree with you," said the Duchess. "And the moral of that is, be what you would seem to be. Or, if you'd like it to be put more simply, never imagine yourself not to be otherwise than what it might appear to others that you were, or might have been, or not otherwise found." Mhm. "I think I should understand that better," said Alice very politely, "if I had it written down. But I don't quite follow it as you say it." "There's nothing to what I could say if I chose," the Duchess replied in a pleased tone. "Pray don't trouble yourself to say it any longer than that," said Alice. "Oh, I don't talk about trouble," said the Duchess. "I make you a present of everything I've said as yet." A cheap sort of present, thought Alice. I'm glad they don't give birthday presents like that. But she did not venture to say it out loud. It would be quite rude to say that back. Thinking again? The Duchess asked with another dig of her sharp little chin. I've a right to think, said Alice sharply, for she was beginning to feel a little worried. Just about as much right, said the Duchess, as pigs have to fly. And here, to Alice's great surprise, the Duchess's voice died away, even in the middle of her favorite word, moral, and the arm that was linked into hers began to tremble. Alice looked up, and there stood the Queen in front of them, with her arms folded, frowning like a thunderstorm. A fine day, Your Majesty, the Duchess began in a low, weak voice. Now give you fair warning, shouted the Queen, stamping on the ground as she spoke. Either you or your head must be off. And that in about half the time. Take your choice. The Duchess took her choice and was gone in a moment. Let's on with the game, the Queen said to Alice, and Alice was too much frightened to say a word, but slowly followed her back into the croquet mound. The other guests had taken advantage of the Queen's absence and were resting in the shade. Yay! However, the moment they saw her, they hurried back to the game, and the Queen merely remarked that a moment's delay could cost them their lives. All the time they were playing, the Queen never left off quarreling with all the members of the family, with the other players, and shouting, "Off with his head! Off with her head!" Those whom she sentenced were taken into custody by the soldiers. Those whom she sentenced were taken into custody by the soldiers, who of course had to leave off being arches to do this, so that by the end of the half hour or so there was no arches left, and all the players except the King, the Queen, and Alice were in custody and under sentence of execution. Then the Queen left off, quite out of breath, and said to Alice, "Have you seen the Mock Turtle yet?" "No," said Alice. "I don't even know what a Mock Turtle is." "It's the thing that a Mock Turtle's soup is made from," said the Queen. "I never saw one, or heard of one," said Alice. "Come on, then," said the Queen, "and he shall tell you his history." As they walked off together, Alice heard the King say in a low voice to the company generally, "You are all pardoned." "Come, that's a good thing," she said to herself, for she had quite unhappy by the number of executions the Queen had ordered. They very soon came upon a griffin lying fast asleep in the sun. If you didn't know what a queen was, this is another monster. Look at the picture. "Up, lazy thing," said the Queen, "and take this young lady to see the Mock Turtle Mountain." Mhm. Up, up, lazy thing," said the Queen, "and take this young lady to see the Mock Turtle and hear his history. I must go back and see after some executions I have ordered." She walked off, leaving Alice alone with the Griffin. Alice did not quite like the look of the characters, but on the whole, she thought it would be quite safe to stay with it as go after the savage Queen. So she hesitated. She waited. The Griffin sat up and rubbed its eyes. Then it watched the Queen till she was out of sight. Then it chuckled. "Ho, ho, 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 ho. What fun!" said the Griffin, half to itself, half to the Alice. "What is the fun?" "Why, the Griffin. "It's all her fancy, that." So, mhm. Everybody says, "Come on here," thought Alice as she went slowly after it. "I've never been so ordered about in all my life, I swear. Never." They had not gone far before they saw the Mock Turtle in the distance, sitting sad and lonely on a little ledge of a rock, and as they came near, Alice could hear him sighing as if his heart would break open. She pitied him deeply. "What is his sorrow?" she asked the Griffin, and the Griffin answered very nearly in the same words as below. "This here young lady." Oh, sorry. So they went up to the Mock Turtle, who looked at them with large eyes full of tears, but said nothing. "This here young lady," said the Griffin, "she wants for you to know your history, she do." "I'll tell it to her." Say, deep history, don't you know? So they sat down, and we shall see how the cleans process there. Clean, 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 clean. They sat down, and nobody spoke for some minutes. Alice thought, hmm. So we have some moments of sleepiness. Sorry, Monster Mama's fallen asleep. So they sat down and nobody spoke for some minutes. Alice thought to herself, "I don't see how he can ever finish if he doesn't begin." But she waited patiently. "Once," the Mock Turtle said outside with a deep sigh, "I was a real turtle." These words were followed by a long, long time friend. These words were followed by a very long silence, broken by the only occasional exclamation of from the Griffin, and the constant heavy sobbing of the Mock Turtle. Alice was very nearly getting up and saying, "Thank you, sir, for your interesting story," but she could not help thinking that there must be more to come. hmm When we were little, When we were little, the Mock Turtle went on at last, more calmly, although still sobbing every a little now and then. We went to school in the sea. The master was an old turtle. We used to call him Tortoise. Why did you call him Tortoise if he wasn't one? Alice asked. We called him Tourist because he really taught us, said the Mock Turtle angrily. Perfectly. You are you are very dull. You ought to be ashamed of yourself for asking such a simple question, added the Gryphon, and they both sat silent and looked at poor Alice, who felt ready to sink into the earth. At last the Gryphon said to the Mock Turtle, Drive on, old fellow. Don't be all day about it. And he went on in these words. Yes, we went to school in the sea, though you mayn't believe it. I never said I didn't, interrupted Alice. You did. Hold your tongue, added the Gryphon before Alice could speak again. The Mock Turtle went on. We had the best of educations. In fact, we went to school every day. I've been to day school too, said Alice. You needn't be so proud as all that. With extras? Said the Mock Turtle a little anxiously. Yes, said Alice. We learned French and music. And washing? Certainly not, said Alice indignantly. Ah, then it wasn't really a good school. The Mock Turtle was in the tone of great relief. No, it ours. They had at the end of the bill French, music, and washing extra. You couldn't have wanted it much, said Alice, living at the bottom of the sea. I couldn't afford to learn it, said the Mock Turtle with a sigh. I only took the regular course. What was that? Inquired Alice. Reeling and writhing, of course, to begin with, the Mock Turtle replied, and then the different branches of the arithmetic, ambition, distraction, uglification, and derision. Yes, with the different branches of the arithmetic, ambition, distraction, uglification, and derision. I've never heard of uglification, Alice ventured to say. What is it? Gryphon lifted up both its paws in surprise. What? Never heard of uglifying? You know what to beautify is, I suppose. Yes, said Alice doubtfully. It means to make anything prettier. Well, then, the Gryphon said on, if you don't know what it is to uglify, then it is that you are a simpleton. Alice did not feel encouraged to ask any more questions about it, so she turned to the Mock Turtle and said, What else did you learn? Well, there was mystery, the Mock Turtle replied, calling off subjects on its flappers. Mystery, ancient and modern. Uh, Ancient and modern, with seaography, and then drawing. The drawing master was an old conger eel, and that used to come once a week. He taught us drawing, scratching, and fainting in coils. What was that like? Said Alice. Well, I can't sit and wait for you. Well, I can't show it to you myself. The Mock Turtle said. I'm much too stiff, and the Gryphon never learnt it. hadn't time, said the Gryphon. I went to the classics master, though. He was an old crab, he was. I never went to him, the Mock Turtle said with a sigh. He taught laughing and grief, they used to say. So he did, they did, said the Gryphon, sighing in his turn. Both creatures hid their faces in their paws. And how many hours a day did you do lessons? Said Alice in a hurry to change the subject. 10 hours on the first day. Mhm. And then 9, said the Mock Turtle. And then 9 the next, and so on. What a curious plan, exclaimed Alice. That's the reasons they're called lessons, the Gryphon remarked, because they lessen from day to day. This is quite a new idea to Alice. She thought it over before she made her next remark. Then the 11th day. Mhm. This is quite a new idea to Alice, and she thought it over a little before she made her next remark. Then the 11th day must have been a holiday? Of course it was, said the Mock Turtle. And how did you manage on the 12th? Alice went on eagerly. That's enough about lessons. The Gryphon interrupted in a very decided tone. hmm So here we are, the end of the chapter. hmm But that is the end of the chapter. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed it, maybe give it a like and subscribe. Thank you so much, and you have a great day.